The first time Jalen saw her, she was standing near the glowing fields of the planet Lyra 7. Her skin shimmered faintly under the twin suns, a soft, pale blue, and her eyes were wide and curious, reflecting the orange sky above. She seemed out of place, yet entirely at home. Humans rarely traveled to Lyra 7, and even rarer was the sight of someone from the native population willing to approach the human settlement. Jalen had been assigned as part of the Earth Research Fleet, a team sent to study Lyra 7's strange flora and fauna. The planet was famous for its floating flowers that drifted lazily through the air, like small clouds of petals, and for its quiet rivers of liquid crystal. The humans had built a small colony at the edge of the plains, with transparent domes and silver walkways, but most of the native species avoided them. Yet here she was, walking confidently along the crystal river, her movements graceful, almost like the flowers themselves. Jalen felt his heart skip a beat, though he quickly reminded himself that she was an alien, and curiosity should be professional, not personal. Over the next few days, he noticed her again and again. Each time, she seemed more interested in the humans' presence, watching their work, and occasionally blushing when their eyes met. Her blushes were subtle, a faint glow in her cheeks, but they did not go unnoticed. Jalen's partner, Kara, had laughed when he mentioned it. "You're imagining things. Aliens don't blush like humans." "Maybe not," Jalen had replied, staring at the soft blue glow on the girl's face as she hid behind a crystal bush. "But I think she does." He didn't know what she wanted, or why she was so fascinated with him and the team, but he felt drawn to her, a mix of curiosity and admiration. One afternoon, Jalen was tasked with examining a new species of floating flower near the riverbank. He knelt down to take a sample, gently cutting one of the blossoms with his small scanner tool. Suddenly, a soft voice startled him. "Careful," it said. The voice was musical, light, and unfamiliar. Jalen looked up to see her standing a few feet away, watching intently. Her eyes were wide, shimmering with the light of the twin suns. He quickly straightened. "Oh, I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't mean to disturb." "You didn't," she interrupted gently. I just like to watch." "They are delicate," Jalen smiled. "Yes, they are. They're very fragile, but fascinating." For a moment, neither spoke. The sound of the river and the soft hum of floating flowers filled the space between them. He noticed again how she seemed aware of every small movement, how she tilted her head when she observed, almost studying him as much as the flowers. "I'm called Lyra," she said finally. "You are human?" "Yes," Jalen replied, extending his hand. "I'm Jalen. I study plants here." She hesitated, then placed her slender hand in his. It was warmer than he expected, surprisingly soft. "You humans are different from what I imagined," she said with a small smile. Her blush deepened slightly, and she looked away quickly. Jalen felt a strange thrill. "Different good, I hope," he said, trying to keep his tone light. She nodded. "Yes, good." From that moment, Jalen and Lyra began seeing each other more often. She would appear near the colony's lab, watching experiments, asking questions, and sometimes just standing quietly, looking at the humans and the tools they used. At first, Jalen thought she was shy, but soon he realized she was just cautious, curious in her own way. Over the next week, Lyra's visits became more frequent. She would appear at dawn, just as the suns rose, sometimes bringing small gifts from the plains, flowers that glowed faintly in the dark, or small crystal stones shaped by the rivers. Each time, she blushed when Jalen noticed her, and each time, he found himself wanting to speak to her, to understand her better. The humans were fascinated too. Kara teased him relentlessly. "She's blushing, Jalen. You've got yourself an alien fan club." "It's not like that," Jalen protested. But even he had to admit there was something special about Lyra. She wasn't like any creature he had ever encountered. She was intelligent, gentle, and genuinely curious. And somehow, she seemed to notice him in ways no one else did. One day, the team received a warning from the colony's sensors. A strange energy signal had been detected in the northern caves of Lyra 7. The readings were unusual, something alive, but not like anything they had catalogued. Jalen was part of the team sent to investigate. As they approached the caves, Lyra appeared again, silently walking beside them. "You must be careful," she said. "The caves, they are not safe for humans." Jalen frowned. "What do you mean?" She shook her head. "I cannot explain, but I can guide you. Follow me carefully." Her knowledge of the terrain saved them more than once. She led the team around dangerous crystal fissures and over rivers of liquid crystal that could have shattered any human equipment. Jalen was amazed at how she moved with such confidence and precision, her blue skin glowing faintly in the dim light of the cave entrance. As they ventured deeper, the energy readings grew stronger. Strange shapes flickered on the walls, like shadows moving on their own. The human team hesitated, unsure what they would find, but Lyra pressed forward, her glow intensifying, illuminating the path ahead. At last, they reached a small chamber filled with luminescent plants that pulsed with energy. The energy readings came from the plants themselves, which seemed to hum with life, communicating in a way humans could barely sense. Jalen knelt to examine one, marveling at the intricate patterns in its veins. "Beautiful," he whispered. Lyra smiled, a faint blush coloring her cheeks again. "They are. You humans are able to see beauty even in strange things. That is rare." Jalen looked at her, surprised. "You think so?" She nodded. "Most of my kind. We notice patterns, energy, survival, beauty. It is not always seen. But you notice." He felt a warmth in his chest. Somehow, this tiny acknowledgement made him feel closer to her than ever before. For the rest of the day, they studied the chamber, documenting the plants and their energy pulses. Lyra watched closely, occasionally pointing out subtle differences humans could not perceive. Jalen tried to engage her in conversation, asking questions about her life, her culture, her thoughts, but each time, she would blush and look away, retreating into quiet observation. As the sun began to set, the team prepared to leave. Jalen lingered near the chamber entrance, unsure whether to speak. Lyra approached him slowly, her blush faint but unmistakable. You are brave," she said softly. "Not many humans would follow the caves without fear." Jalen smiled. "It was easier with you guiding us." She looked down at her feet, her hands fidgeting slightly. I like watching you. You are careful, curious, kind. It is different." He paused, unsure how to respond. But before he could say anything, she turned and walked away, leaving him staring after her, his heart racing. That night, Jalen could not sleep. He kept thinking about her words, her blushes, and the strange, magnetic pull he felt toward her. For the first time, he wondered if humans and aliens could truly understand each other, beyond simple curiosity and observation. And more importantly, he wondered if he could ever earn her trust fully, to step beyond the shy glances and small interactions that had marked their first week together. Little did he know, Lyra had her own thoughts, her own hesitations, and a decision forming in her mind. She wanted to show him something, a part of her world humans rarely saw, and when she did, it would change everything for both of them. For now, though, she simply watched from a distance, cheeks faintly glowing, wondering if he would follow when the moment came. And thus, the first week passed, with blushing smiles, quiet moments, and the silent promise of something extraordinary waiting just around the corner. The morning sun rose over Lyra 7, painting the sky in streaks of gold and pink. Jalen walked along the colony's silver pathways, his thoughts still lingering on the strange chamber in the northern caves. The luminescent plants, pulsing softly with energy, had left a mark on him, but more than that, he couldn't stop thinking about Lyra, the way she moved, the way her eyes glimmered, and the faint blush that colored her cheeks whenever she spoke to him. He paused near the crystal river, staring at the water's clear surface as tiny floating flowers drifted lazily above it. A soft ripple disturbed his reflection, and he looked up to see Lyra standing at the riverbank, a small bundle cradled in her arms. Her eyes widened when she saw him, and her faint blush appeared almost immediately. "Good morning," Jalen said gently, keeping his voice calm. "Good morning," Lyra replied, her tone soft, almost hesitant. She shifted the bundle in her arms and took a careful step closer. I have something to show you." Jalen's curiosity piqued. "What is it?" "One." She hesitated, glancing around as if making sure no one else could see. "It is private. My world. It is not ready for everyone yet. But you may come." Jalen swallowed hard. "I would be honored." Her eyes flickered with relief, and she held out her hand. For a moment, he wondered if he should take it, unsure what to expect. Then he reached out, and her fingers brushed his in a light, almost electric touch. The warmth of her hand against his made him feel connected to something larger than the human colony, something entirely alien and yet deeply familiar. Lyra led him across the river and into a narrow path surrounded by glowing crystal formations. The path wound upward, twisting between enormous crystal spires that reflected the sun's light in 1,000 colors. Jalen marveled at the beauty around him. He had seen many planets, many alien landscapes, but Lyra 7 always held surprises. And now, walking beside Lyra, it felt as though the planet itself was alive, guiding him towards something extraordinary. Finally, they reached a door embedded in a crystal wall. It was circular and smooth, glowing faintly with a blue light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with the energy he had sensed in the caves. Lyra pressed a small patch of her skin against a crystal panel, and the door opened silently, revealing a softly lit chamber beyond. Inside, the room was filled with floating lights, each one resembling a tiny star. Small plants floated in midair, glowing faintly, and delicate crystal structures hovered above the ground, forming intricate patterns. The air hummed with energy, a quiet, soothing vibration that made Jalen feel calm, yet alert. This is incredible," he whispered. Stepping inside cautiously, Lyra's cheeks glowed again, and she looked away. "It is my sanctuary. Not many humans see it." Jalen turned to her. "Thank you for letting me in. It means a lot." She nodded, still avoiding his gaze. "I trust you. That is why I asked you to come." For a while, they simply walked among the floating lights and plants. Jalen reached out, carefully touching one of the levitating crystals. It felt warm, almost alive, and he could sense a faint rhythm beneath his fingertips, like the pulse of a heartbeat. "These crystals, they respond to life?" he asked. "Yes," Lyra said softly. "They sense energy. They respond to feelings, to thought. That is why I am careful with who comes here." Jalen looked at her. Realizing that this was more than a hidden lab, it was a glimpse into her world. A place where the very environment reflected emotion and connection. "You've built something extraordinary," he said. Lyra hesitated, then finally met his eyes. "Because I am not used to humans being trusted so easily. Your kindness, it makes me nervous. I do not know how to explain." He smiled warmly. "You don't have to explain, I understand." For the next few hours, Jalen and Lyra explored the sanctuary together. She showed him how the floating plants reacted to sound, how the crystals could amplify thought, and how the patterns of energy shifted when two beings interacted in harmony. Jalen was fascinated, taking careful notes, asking questions, and marveling at her intelligence and creativity. At one point, Lyra paused near a large cluster of glowing plants. She looked at Jalen, her eyes reflecting the soft light of the chamber. "You see things differently. Humans notice beauty in ways my kind sometimes forget. That is why I like showing you this place." Infactive Feuding 74, Cross, known. Jalen's chest warmed at her words. "It's not just that. You're showing me trust, and that's rare anywhere, alien or human." Her blush deepened, though she did not look away this time. "Trust. Yes. That is difficult for many. But I feel safe with you. The hours passed quickly. Jalen could hardly believe he had spent an entire day in Lyra's sanctuary. He learned about her culture, her perspective on the planet, and the deep connection her people had with the land and its energy. It was a bond humans often overlooked, relying too much on technology and logic. But Lyra's world seemed alive in every detail, every pulse of light and sound. As the suns began to set, casting golden reflections across the floating lights, Lyra guided Jalen to a small platform in the center of the chamber. There, a crystal pedestal hovered above the ground, and upon it rested a single glowing orb. "This is the heart of my sanctuary," she explained. "It contains energy from the plants, the crystals, even from the river outside. It reacts to harmony, to connection. If your energy matches, it will glow brighter." Jalen studied the orb carefully. Its soft light pulsed faintly, and he realized that it seemed to respond to his own thoughts, his careful observation, and his respect for the sanctuary. "Would you try it with me?" Lyra asked, her voice soft but steady. He nodded. Together, they extended their hands toward the orb. As soon as their fingers touched the crystal surface, the orb began to glow brighter, colors shifting from soft blue to golden hues, then settling into a warm violet. The energy around them hummed, a quiet vibration that filled the chamber with a sense of calm and unity. Jalen felt a strange connection, not just to the sanctuary, but to Lyra herself. He could sense her cautious curiosity, her gentle trust, and something deeper, an unspoken understanding that transcended species. "You see?" Lyra said softly, her blush glowing faintly. "It responds to both of us. Together." Jalen smiled. "It's amazing. And so are you." Her cheeks glowed brighter, and she looked down, fidgeting with her hands. "I thank you for being patient, kind, and for trusting me in return." The moment felt delicate, almost sacred. Outside the sanctuary, the alien world continued its quiet rhythm. But inside, Jalen and Lyra shared a connection neither could fully explain. It was not just curiosity or admiration, it was mutual respect, trust, and a growing understanding of one another. Eventually, the suns dipped below the horizon, and the chamber's glowing lights became the only illumination. Lyra led Jalen back toward the entrance, her hand brushing his briefly as they walked. The small contact sent a ripple through him, a reminder that this world, this experience, was unlike anything he had known before. At the door, she paused. "I hope you return tomorrow. There is more I wish to show you. My world is bigger than this room, and you may see it fully one day." Jalen nodded, feeling a deep excitement mixed with respect. "I'll come. Thank you, Lyra, for trusting me." Her blush glowed faintly, and she smiled, turning back into the chamber. The door closed silently behind her, leaving Jalen standing in the twilight of Lyra 7, the stars beginning to shine above. As he walked back to the human colony, Jalen couldn't stop thinking about the sanctuary, the glowing orb, and the quiet trust between him and Lyra. It was more than science. More than exploration, it was a bridge between two very different worlds, built on patience, respect, and curiosity. And he knew, deep down, that the next day would bring even greater discoveries, not just about Lyra 7, but about the bond forming between him and the alien girl who blushed all week. The adventure had only just begun. The next morning, Jalen awoke before dawn, his thoughts still lingering on Lyra's sanctuary. The memory of the glowing orb, the floating crystals, and her gentle blush made him eager to see her again. The colony was quiet, most humans still asleep under the twin suns' early light. Jalen dressed quickly and made his way toward the northern caves, anticipation and curiosity guiding his steps. When he arrived at the riverbank, he found Lyra waiting, her glow faint but unmistakable in the early light. She carried no bundles this time, only her soft gaze and a quiet presence that seemed to make the surroundings hum with calm energy. "Good morning," Jalen said softly, careful not to startle her. Good morning, she replied, her cheeks tinged with the familiar blush. You came early. That pleases me. I wanted to, Jalen said. I am curious about your world, Lyra. I want to see more, understand more. She nodded, and without another word, she led him along a winding path that diverged from the usual trail. The path was narrow and bordered by enormous crystal formations, their edges catching the sunlight and scattering it in tiny rainbows across the ground. Jalen followed closely, noticing how Lyra moved effortlessly, her feet barely touching the ground at times, as if in perfect rhythm with the energy of the planet. After a short walk, they reached a clearing surrounded by massive, glowing trees. Their branches stretched high into the sky, dotted with luminous leaves that emitted a soft, calming light. Between the trees floated small pods of energy, each pulsing faintly as if alive. This is the Heart Grove, Lyra said, her voice barely above a whisper. Jalen stepped forward, marveling at the grove. The air was thick with energy, gentle vibrations that resonated in his chest. Each tree seemed to exude a quiet intelligence, sensing him, observing him, yet welcoming his presence. It's incredible, he whispered. I've never seen anything like it. It feels alive. Lyra's blush deepened. It is alive. The trees, the pods, they respond to trust, to respect, to care. That is why I brought you here. I trust you, Jalen. The warmth in his chest grew. Her words were simple, yet they carried meaning far beyond anything he had experienced. I'm honored, Lyra. I'll be careful. I promise. She smiled faintly, and together they walked deeper into the grove. The pods of energy floated around them, glowing brighter as they approached. Lyra reached out to one, and it hovered gently in her hand, sending ripples of soft light through the air. These pods contain the energy of Lyra 7, she explained. They grow stronger when life around them is harmonious. That is why they respond to humans like you. Your presence matters, Jalen nodded, fascinated. It's amazing that the planet itself can sense us. Yes, Lyra said, her voice soft and proud. It watches, it learns, it remembers, and it can teach, if one listens. They spent hours in the Heart Grove, exploring its wonders. Lyra showed Jalen how the pods could amplify thought, how the glowing leaves recorded patterns of energy, and how the grove could communicate in subtle ways. Jalen listened, observed, and learned, carefully documenting what he could, without disturbing the delicate balance of the ecosystem. At one point, Lyra paused beside a particularly large tree, its trunk shimmering with a soft golden light. This is the elder tree, she said. It has seen more than any other on Lyra 7. It can feel emotions, not just energy. If you wish, it can sense your heart. Jalen hesitated. How does it do that? She smiled faintly. You place your hand on it and remain silent. It will respond. He reached out cautiously, placing his hand on the shimmering bark. A warm vibration traveled up his arm, filling him with a strange calmness. He closed his eyes, feeling the tree's presence, sensing the history it held, the energy of Lyra 7 itself, woven into every pulse, every ripple of light. Lyra watched him closely, her blush faint but constant. It senses sincerity, she said softly. It knows your intentions. After a long moment, Jalen opened his eyes, feeling a quiet connection not only to the elder tree but also to Lyra. I feel it. It's like the planet is alive, and it's aware of us. She nodded, her gaze meeting his. Yes, and it has accepted you, Jalen. That is rare. For a while, they stood together in silence, absorbing the energy of the grove. Jalen felt a growing sense of admiration, not only for the wonders around him, but also for Lyra herself. She was brave, intelligent, and kind, sharing her most sacred place with a human, a gesture of trust and connection that transcended words. As the day progressed, Lyra guided him to a series of floating platforms over a crystalline pond. The platforms glowed faintly, each responding to their steps. Jalen marveled at the sensation of walking on light, feeling weightless yet grounded, as if the planet itself was supporting them. These platforms are memory vessels, Lyra explained. They hold experiences, lessons, and knowledge from my people. You can touch them, feel the stories, and learn without words. Jalen reached out to one, and instantly, visions of Lyra 7's history filled his mind. He saw the early explorers of the planet, the delicate balance of its ecosystems, and the careful coexistence of its native species. He saw Lyra's people studying, experimenting, learning from the planet rather than dominating it, and he felt a sense of respect, awe, and humility that deepened his admiration for both the world and its inhabitants. You see, understand, and respect, Lyra said quietly, her voice full of emotion. That is why you are different from others. You can learn, and you can care. Jalen smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. I want to understand. I want to protect this place and your world. I won't take it for granted. Lyra's blush deepened. I believe you. That is rare. That is why I brought you here, further than anyone else. They spent the rest of the day exploring the Heart Grove, learning from the pods, trees, and floating platforms. Lyra shared stories of her people, the ways they communicated with the planet, and the lessons they had learned from centuries of careful observation. Jalen listened intently, taking notes, but also feeling a growing respect and connection that went beyond science. As the suns began to set, casting golden reflections across the crystalline surfaces, Lyra led Jalen to a small hill overlooking the grove. The twin suns dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink, orange, and violet. The floating pods glowed softly in the twilight, reflecting their colors in the crystalline pond below. This is my favorite time, Lyra said softly, her blush glowing in the dim light. The energy is calm, balanced, perfect for reflection. Jalen turned to her, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. Thank you, Lyra, for everything, for showing me your world, for trusting me. She smiled faintly, looking down. I trust you because you listen, you learn, you care. That is more than most humans offer. For a long moment, they simply watched the sunset together, sharing silence, trust, and the quiet understanding that had grown between them. Jalen realized that this connection was rare, extraordinary, and profoundly human, proof that despite differences in species, empathy, respect, and curiosity could bridge even the widest gaps. As darkness fell, Lyra turned to him. Tomorrow, I will show you something no human has ever seen. It is the deepest part of my world, where the planet's energy flows strongest. Jalen felt a thrill of excitement. I'll be there. I wouldn't miss it for anything. Her blush deepened, and she nodded, a soft glow radiating from her as she stepped back toward the grove. Good. Rest well, Jalen. Tomorrow, the journey continues. As he returned to the colony, Jalen could not stop thinking about what he had seen and experienced. Lyra's world was beautiful, alive, and full of wisdom. And Lyra herself, blushing, cautious, and yet brave, had shown him trust beyond anything he had imagined. He realized that the adventure was no longer just about exploration or science. It was about connection, understanding, and the potential for humans and aliens to share knowledge, respect, and perhaps friendship. And he knew, deep down, that tomorrow would bring discoveries even more extraordinary, revealing secrets of Lyra 7 and the alien girl who had chosen to trust him with her most sacred world. The morning air on Lyra 7 was crisp and quiet. Jalen could feel the energy of the planet even before he reached the northern caves. Today was the day Lyra had promised to show him the deepest part of her world, the heart where the planet's energy flowed strongest. He moved quickly but carefully, excitement and anticipation making his steps lighter. When he arrived at the riverbank, Lyra was already there, her glow brighter than usual. Her blue skin shimmered in the twin suns' light, and a faint blush colored her cheeks, as if even the act of meeting him filled her with emotion. You are early, she said softly, her voice almost musical. "I couldn't wait," Jalen admitted with a smile. "I want to see everything today. I want to understand your world fully." Lyra's eyes softened. "Very well. Follow me. And be careful. The journey is not easy." She led him along a hidden path that twisted through enormous crystal spires and glowing plains. The energy of the planet was stronger here. Jalen could feel it vibrating under his feet, lifting his spirits and sharpening his senses. He noticed how Lyra seemed to move in perfect harmony with the land, her presence almost guiding the planet itself. After some time, they reached the entrance to a massive cavern. The door was similar to the one leading to her sanctuary, but larger, embedded in walls of glowing crystal. Lyra pressed a patch of her skin against a panel, and the door opened silently. Inside, the cavern stretched endlessly, filled with light that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. "This is the heart of Lyra," she said softly. "Here, the energy is strongest. Here, the planet shows its true self." Jalen stepped inside cautiously. The air hummed, vibrating in harmony with his heartbeat. Everywhere he looked, glowing plants and crystals pulsed in rhythm, sending waves of energy through the cavern. The walls seemed alive, shifting subtly, reflecting emotions rather than mere light. "It's magnificent," he whispered. "I've never felt anything like this." Lyra's blush deepened as she observed him. "It is powerful and dangerous if not respected. That is why few see it. Few earn the planet's trust." They moved deeper into the cavern. Jalen noticed how the energy seemed to respond to their presence, glowing brighter with each step. Lyra explained that the heart of Lyra stored knowledge, memory, and energy from the planet's past. It remembers the actions of all living beings here. It can teach, but only if one listens with care. Jalen extended his hand toward a floating crystal near the center of the cavern. The moment his fingers brushed it, visions flooded his mind. He saw Lyra 7 as it had been centuries ago, ancient trees stretching high, rivers of liquid crystal carving valleys, creatures moving in perfect harmony with their environment. He felt the joy, the struggles, and the wisdom of the planet, and he understood why Lyra's people treated it with such care. "You see," Lyra said softly, placing her hand near his, "the planet speaks through energy, not words. It shows history, lessons, and trust. You are learning well." Jalen looked at her, admiration in his eyes. You've shared so much with me. More than anyone could ever expect." She smiled faintly, her blush glowing. "Because I trust you, and I believe you understand." As they continued through the cavern, they reached a large pool of liquid crystal. Its surface shimmered with all the colors of the heart of Lyra, and in it floated countless small lights, like stars reflected in water. "This is the reflection pool," Lyra explained. "It shows one's heart. Not thoughts, not plans, only truth. The pool will reveal what is inside you, if you allow it." Jalen knelt beside the pool, unsure what to expect. He peered into the glowing surface and felt the energy reaching out to him, sensing his intentions, his curiosity, his respect for Lyra and her world. Slowly, the lights in the pool shifted, forming shapes and patterns that mirrored his deepest feelings: wonder, admiration, and a desire to protect, not conquer, this world. Lyra knelt beside him, her fingers hovering just above the pool's surface. "Do you see?" she whispered. "It knows you. It understands you. And it accepts you." Jalen felt a warmth in his chest, a bond forming not only with Lyra, but with Lyra 7 itself. It feels alive, as if it's part of me now, and I'm part of it. "Yes," she said softly, her blush glowing brighter. "That is the connection I hoped you would feel. You are part of this world now, as it is part of you." For hours, they explored the cavern, moving among floating crystals, glowing plants, and the shimmering pool. Jalen learned more about Lyra's people, their history, and their philosophy of harmony with nature. He realized that this world was not just beautiful, it was a living lesson in respect, patience, and connection. At one point, they reached a chamber where the crystals formed a dome overhead, reflecting the colors and energies of the heart of Lyra in intricate patterns. Lyra motioned for Jalen to stand in the center. "Place your hands together with mine," she instructed. Jalen complied. As their hands touched, the dome responded. The colors intensified, swirling around them in a breathtaking display. He could feel the energy of the planet amplifying their presence, reacting to their harmony and trust. "You see," Lyra said softly, "when two beings share respect, curiosity, and care, the planet responds. It thrives." Jalen smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment and awe. "I understand now. This world, it's alive in a way humans rarely appreciate. And you are part of its heart." Her blush deepened, and she looked down, her fingers brushing his lightly. "And you are part of it too. Now, that is why I trusted you with it." The cavern seemed to hum with approval, a quiet, gentle vibration that resonated in their hearts. Jalen realized that this journey was about more than exploration. It was about connection between human and alien, mind and planet, trust and understanding. As they sat beside the reflection pool, the twin suns' last light fading outside the cavern, Lyra shared one final lesson. Lyra 7 gives energy to those who respect it. It teaches those who listen, and it welcomes those who care. Jalen nodded, feeling the truth of her words. "I will remember, and I will protect it as best I can." She smiled faintly, her blush glowing warmly. "I know you will. That is why I hoped you would come. That is why I shared this world with you." For a long time, they simply sat together, absorbing the energy, watching the colors dance, and feeling the quiet, profound connection that had grown between them. Jalen understood that this bond, born of trust and curiosity, was rare, beautiful, and entirely human proof that humanity's greatest strength was not technology or power, but empathy, understanding, and courage. When they finally returned to the riverbank outside the cavern, Jalen looked back at the entrance, knowing he had seen a part of the universe few humans ever would. Lyra stood beside him, her glow soft but steady, a faint blush still coloring her cheeks. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for everything. For trusting me. For showing me all of this." Lyra nodded, her eyes meeting his. "You are welcome, Jalen. And I thank you. For listening. For caring. For being human in the best way." Jalen felt a smile spread across his face. "I'll never forget this. Neither you nor Lyra 7. She smiled faintly, then turned toward the path that led back to her sanctuary. "Come tomorrow. There is still more to see, more to learn. The planet has much to teach, and I will share it with you. If you wish, I will come," he replied firmly. "I promise." As he walked back to the human colony, Jalen realized that the adventure on Lyra 7 was only beginning. He had discovered not just a new world, but a connection that bridged species, hearts, and understanding. Humanity's capacity to learn, trust, and respect had opened a door, literally and figuratively, into a world that few could ever dream of. And in Lyra's quiet blush, he saw hope, a reminder that even in the vastness of space, kindness, curiosity, and courage could forge bonds stronger than any technology, stronger than any challenge. The heart of Lyra had shown him the power of connection, and Jalen knew that as long as humans carried empathy, respect, and courage with them, there was no limit to what they could achieve on Lyra 7 or anywhere in the universe. And so, under the twin suns of an alien world, with the energy of the planet flowing around them and a quiet understanding between human and alien, a new chapter began, a story of exploration, trust, and the enduring strength of humanity.